What we're going to do today is we're going to review some of the things that you're going to see on your test on Thursday. And we're going to review them in word problem form so that you can look at how to interpret what it says in the word problem and apply that to the operations that you've been using. Most of it's going to be division, although there is going to be one instance where you will need to use multiplication. So make sure that you're paying attention to which is which. We're going to read this one together. Carly is looking at a piece of hair under a microscope that is, now how do we say this number? This is the tenths place, hundredths place, thousandths place, which would make this the 10,000ths place. So it is 5/10,000ths of a centimeter wide. The microscope will make it appear 100 times bigger. How big will the piece of hair look under the microscope? So how big will it look under the microscope? That is our question. What do we need to know about the microscope? It's going to make it 100 times bigger. What is it making bigger? It's making bigger the piece of hair, which is 5/10,000ths wide. So what you're going to have to do, since it's 100 times bigger, so pay attention to the language. This is one of the only times that you're going to be using multiplication on Thursday's test, is when you're multiplying by powers of 10. Now remember, there's a shortcut to this, which is the whole purpose of teaching you this, right? So you have right here 5/10,000ths times 100. So there's 2 zeros. So in order to make this bigger, we're going to take our decimal and move it 1, 2 places to the right when you multiply. And so what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with 5/100ths. Okay, so 100 times bigger. Remember, when you divide or multiply by powers of 10, all you have to do is move the decimal for however many zeros that you have. Let's take a look at the next one. The West Side Bakery uses 440 pounds of sugar to make 1,000 cakes. Each cake contains the same amount of sugar. How many pounds of sugar are in each cake? So there's some words here that might help you determine whether it's division or multiplication. So first, let's look at the question. How many pounds? Oh goodness. That should say, whoops, pounds of sugar on each cake. How many pounds of sugar on each cake? So now we need to go back and figure out in each cake in sugar. So what does it tell us about cakes and sugar? It tells us that there's 440 pounds of sugar to make 1,000 cakes. Now this is important. Each cake, see this word each keeps coming up? Each cake contains the same amount. So what we need to do is take the cakes and divide them evenly, or the amount of sugar, and divide it evenly by how many cakes we're making. So 440 pounds of sugar divided by 1,000 cakes. So we're sharing it evenly with each of the 1,000 cakes. 1,000 has 3 zeros. So we're dividing. When we're dividing, our number is going to get smaller. So we're going to move our decimal to the left. All right? So what that means now is, well, where's a decimal in 440? Well, if there's no decimal written, the decimal automatically goes at the end of the number. So the decimal would be here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 places, and it's going to move from the end to the beginning of the number. So that means that each cake is going to have 440 thousandths of a pound of sugar in it. All right, let's take a look at this one. Jason has a piece of wire that is 62 4/10 inches long. He cuts the wire into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? So again, if we're looking at this, we're looking for, here's our question, how long is each piece? Well, what do we know about them? We know that there's 3 pieces and that they are, very important word, equal. And we know that his wire is 62 4/10 inches long. So we already know the total, and we need to cut the total into 3 equal pieces. So we would go 62 4/10, and we would divide that, and I'm sorry that this doesn't write as well as I wish it would. We would divide that by 3, okay? Now, remember, when you are dividing with a decimal, if there is no decimal out here, you don't have to worry about it. You leave everything the same and you divide. How many times is 3 going to 6? 2, and then 4, okay? And you would take your decimal, because there's one decimal place here, and move it in one place in your answer. Okay, let's take a look at this one together. It says Lee walked a total of 4 4/4800 miles. So there's a good thing here. If you already know the total in a problem, chances are that you are going to be either subtracting or dividing. So you're not looking for total, you know the total. So that really is important. If he walked at a speed of 1.4 or 1 4/10 miles an hour, how many hours did he walk for? So we know the total, which is 4 4/4800. And now we're going to, so we know the total, 4 4/4800, and now we're going to divide that total by 1.4, okay? Because he's walking 1.4 miles an hour. So when you're dividing, we're going to set this up so that the number that's being split goes inside the box, and the number that's being split always goes first. It's not always the bigger number, so make sure you pay attention to what is being divided, okay? So we're dividing the miles by how many we go each hour to figure out how many hours we've gone. So when you're doing this kind of problem, you have to pay attention to, again, we're going to look out here and see there's a decimal here. If there's a decimal in the divisor, we need to move it to the end. Okay, and then we're going to move this one over one place. So if we move this one over one place, we need to move this one over one place. So it's going to end up becoming 14, or I'm sorry, I said that backwards. It's going to end up becoming 44 8/10 divided by 14. Okay, and then when you do your answer, you have one number after the decimal here. You're going to have to move the decimal in one place from the end of your answer. All right, so for this one here, a slug crawls 5 6200 meters in 4 hours. What is the slug speed? And this should be an apostrophe S. What is the slug speed in meters per hour? So again, we have a total. We know the total amount that he crawls. He's going to do it in 0.4 hours. Okay, so in 4/10 of an hour. So if we want to figure out how much he goes, how fast he goes per hour, we have to divide the total by 4/10. The total, or the thing that is being split up, goes inside the box, and what you're dividing it by goes outside of the box. You have a decimal here, so you're going to have to move that decimal over one place to the end. So it's going to go to the end of the 4, and then you have to move it one place here because you moved it one place here. And so it's going to go between the 6 and the 2, and then you're going to be able to divide. What I would like you to do is I would like you to try to find the answer to this problem and bring the answer to this problem with you to our centers. So go ahead and pause the video now and work out the answer, and I'll see you soon.